Voltron Network.
What's up, guys, and welcome to the DC versus Marvel podcast, where we talk about the latest DC and Marvel movie news. My name is Uz, aka Uzi Man Diaz, and once again joining me in the red corner is my boy Eds, aka Eddie Brock.
You know it. But today, representing 2000 AD. There was a period in my life when I loved 2000 AD and Judge Dredd and all of that stuff. This is a salute to that, to my child.
Yeah. Absolutely criminal that there isn't a follow-up to the Dredd film,
the Carl Urban
series,
one.
or the Carl Urban.
We don't want people to think it's the Stallone one. No.
Well, and he wants the money right now, right? He's desperate, to make money to fund his family's lifestyle, man. So he would probably do it again.
Love that Carl Urban film. I was so bummed that he never got It did well when it came out on home entertainment, like for DVD and online, but people run these studios, man. It is,
when that film came out, I was working in one of like an early job in a place called Clacton, which is like a seaside town, and they didn't have a big cinema there. The big cinema was at a place called Colchester, which is like 30 miles down the road. So Clacton had this like cinema that was like an old school, like proper old school, right? It had like curtains that used to open and stuff like that, and it had like all the seats were at the same level and stuff, and they were like velvet covered and stuff like that, basically, right? And one day, like, because what would happen is that I would work there for the week, and then my wife and kids would be at home, and then I'd basically I'd go back and like see them and stuff like that. And during the week, I'd be like, oh, what do I do? And that place, right, it was so jokes. They used to have cinema tickets for like £2.99, right? So I was like, man, let me go to this place and have a look and see what it was, right? And they used to have like old school ways. They used to do the popcorn and stuff like that, like proper like heat it up and like have the melted butter and shit that goes over it and stuff like that.
I've never seen a cinema in this country that does the melted butter. I thought that was just an American thing.
No. This place had it, man. The melted butter, like the squeezy butter thing and all that kind of stuff. And I once went there because I was bored, and I was like, let me see what's on here, man. And it was Dredd, right? And it's basically like I saw Dredd in that. The screen was humongous, man. It's like one of these old school, like a theater, like literally, like it's unfortunate now because they've changed it into like a swimming pool complex and whatever, right? But it was awesome at the time, man, and that gave me such an amazing. There's like 3 people in there, so total £9 that cinema made.
Was that the week it came out as well?
Yeah, it's like the day it came out, literally the day it came out, like the Friday.
Screw that up, man. It was such a cool film. Didn't help that it came out when the Raid came out, but apparently that script had been floating around longer than before the Raid had gotten into production. There's actually a little conspiracy that some people think that Gareth Evans actually read the script for Dredd before it was produced, and that inspired him to make the Raid, so the Raid could actually, even though the Raid gets credit for being that.
I mean, the thing is this, right? There's a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, the Raid came out at the same time, blah blah. But it's like you look back in time and you think, okay, well, what about Game of Death?
Exactly. It's a computer game storyline. It's basically that.
Yeah, computer game storyline. You could go back to like Donkey Kong, like when Mario's going up levels. It's the same kind of thing. It's a standard storyline. It's just the way that it's been done, and it's like I love those like I love those kind of things where you go and see a future, but it's not that rose tinted future, right? It's like
dystopian future.
It's the actual future we're gonna have.
Right?
We're gonna have no bloody amazing ass future. It's gonna be like, last week I went to go to a new place that they've asked me to work at to do a contract, and I had to drive into London, and I haven't driven into London for 10 years, right? Holy crap, is there a lot of building going on there, right? And I drove into East London, right? And I'm not joking. Back in the day, I used to do that journey super quick. This time I couldn't do it quick, not because there was traffic, but because there was one-way systems everywhere, because they've built like one tower and then next to it is literally like another tower. So back in the day, you used to be able to like look through and kind of like, you know, see a load of space. Now it's like two towers on either side, another tower here.
Yeah, the whole city is legit just a big construction site. It's annoying because you even in Croydon, it's like just towers everywhere. They're trying to build towers everywhere, but because everything that's going on, it's kind of slowed everything down. So
it's gonna become like Mega City 1, man. It literally is gonna be.
Maybe that ain't a bad thing, because if there's another pandemic, then it's easier just to lock people into their building, and those buildings are basically cities within themselves with stores. So it's just easier just to contain people in their buildings, and life can go on for everyone outside.
You'd lock people in peach trees.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I give them slow.
Did you ever see the footage in China where they were like just sealing the doors of those big?
Yeah.
Just do it. But
lock them in peach trees. Give them slow mo for like.
You never got to see it in 3D, because that was one of the few films that really did benefit from the.
No. I just saw it in. It was just a massive screen, basically. I don't think they had a 3D projector there. I think it's probably a dude actually putting the film on the reel.
Old school.
It's like proper old school, man. So, what have you been doing in the world of DC and Marvel, man?
This week, actually, nothing, man, because I've been stuck in this. I get into these little fads, these little phases, and right now I'm in a big historical antiquity headspace where I'm just watching documentaries and rewatching Spartacus, the old Star series, and I'm watching the Roman Empire thing that's on Netflix. I'm just stuck in that headspace where I'm just, if it's Egypt, Kush, Rome, Greece, that's what I'm into right now, and I just can't get my head into anything
else. Have you ever heard of this thing called? Yeah, go on.
I did watch Old Guard though. I was saying I started watching that last week. So not good. Not good,
because you were kind of like, I'm gonna give it a chance, or whatever,
and I did, and it wasn't good. Another comic book property with a good concept, such a cool concept, just ruined by just bog standard direction. Like, action was terrible. It just looked like a TV show, but it's a movie.
Yeah,
Netflix have made films that look like films, so. And you think with something that's starring Charlize Theron that they could actually pull out a little bit of the budget or get a decent director that has a bit of style to them. But yeah, it's just. Nah.
Do you think some of these actors, like, you know, we've always thought of them as like top level, because our generation has kind of grown up with these people, right? But they're getting to that kind of stage, like Bruce Willis does like shit-tier films nowadays, and Nicolas Cage does that kind of stuff, and a lot of these people are kind of getting to that kind of age where they're like, I'm slowly turning into doing shit-tier kind of stuff, you know what I mean?
I would have thought, but Charlize, her last film before this was that Fox News, I'm forgetting the name of it now, but it's one where she was playing that Fox News woman that had the sexual harassment, and that was a success. Was up for like awards. And she's a bigger star than Jamie Foxx in his Netflix film coming that we'll talk about later. Looks like it has way more of a budget and way more stylized. So I don't know. I guess it's whoever production companies to hook up with.
The one thing I always find about Netflix films is like, it's kind of like they start off really good and they're just like, it looks like they give up halfway in between, and it's like they don't know how to carry on. The only ones where they do it well is kind of like where they've sold the rights to like a Chinese company or an Indonesian company or something like that, and all those companies know about is how to do fight scenes and stuff. Like if it's pure action like that Chris Hemsworth film,
Extradition was good, very good.
It turns out all right. But if it's kind of like pretty much just like, okay, we've got to build a storyline here, we've got to do this and we've got to do that, I don't know, they're just kind of like, it just kind of gives up.
I actually think the big problem is Greg Rucka, who was the writer, who's also the writer of the original comic book series for Image. He wrote the script for the film. And we've seen when comic book writers try and do that little leap across into
Jeff
movies,
Johns.
it don't always work out. It needs someone else there to really be like, you could do a bit better.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They need somebody to come and just like, just rein them in, or just like, keep their stories that they're concise and stuff like that. And that's always the difficulty, man. So, I mean,
It was
I'm just
too
thinking
rated.
like, out of a comic book property. I mean, obviously we talked about Dread. Apart from the main DC and Marvel stuff, I'm just trying to think if there's any that has really had something out there that has been, that has been awesome, or that has been at least decent level.
As a
The
movie?
Boys,
No, the
of
boy. Oh,
course,
as a series, yeah,
as
definitely
a
the boys.
series. I'm just thinking, it's difficult for me to think of anything else that has done that
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah, the boys. You got, like I said, I enjoyed Sabrina. I enjoyed Deadly Class. Like they're there, but they're just like not really. They don't get the shine that they deserve. It's yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't know. Not good.
it's like it's kind of like they get green lit,
Yeah,
and then it's like,
how do you f up a story about mercenaries that are immortal, that are basically like Highlanders, that have been alive since ancient times, where there's one
yeah.
couple that are together that met on either side of the Crusades, they're fighting on opposite sides and they fell in love. And they're just little side characters. How do you mess that up?
This is the thing, man. That concept, when you were telling me about it, I thought that is a really awesome concept, man. I kind of, I, I had this same kind of idea like when I was at uni, where
Mm.
it was called the zombie, was it something about the zombie history of the world, right? And it's basically like, you have different historical events that have occurred, and in every historical event it's been covered up that zombies have been a part of it, and that's the reason why it actually happened. Right, so like there's this kind of like thing that happened with the Russian army, like in the 1600s, right? You had the Russian army, and they were basically facing this Arab army in Egypt, right? And they hold themselves up in this in this kind of castle kind of thing, in Egypt, right? And the Egyptian kind of army was like basically surrounding them and trying like get in and things like that, and they sieged the place there for like hours and hours and hours, right? And they couldn't get in, the walls were too big, they couldn't penetrate it, whatever, right? So they kind of like gave up. And the thing is like, they knew that the Russians had these like provisions that were going on for a long, long time. So they gave up because they were like, look, our supply lines are too long, we can't go and attack it or whatever. So they left the battlefield, right? When they came back to this castle to go and have a look and try again, which is about 3 months later, they went in there and all the Russian soldiers are still in there, all their provisions are still there, and they're all dead, right? And this is like this is a true story, right?
Oh,
Okay, right. So my kind of thought process was, okay, this is a story, but actually there was like a zombie thing that basically went and they
yeah.
killed all of those Russian
That's how,
soldiers. And,
that would be cool. Or even like a vampire, somebody that just kind of
yeah,
just went
yeah.
through and just killed them all.
Or like that, like you're saying, like that with that Charlize Theron film, like, okay, mercenaries they killed all the
Took
soldiers,
'em out.
they came back, they're like, and you could think of tons of
So many.
historical events where it's just like, what the hell happened here? Like, you can
Yeah.
go and look at unsolved mysteries of so many things and
Mm.
just think, just say like this, absolutely crazy
It's
kind of
true.
mission going on.
They
So
had one flashback sequence that was to like some. They didn't even get specific on where it was, but one little thing where some ancient battle in some history somewhere. And it looked like a little battle out of. Do you ever watch Xena back in the day?
yeah.
That's what it looked
That's
like.
it.
But even Xena looked like it had more star than this. It
Oh
like
my.
this is all we get. There's her on horseback swinging this axe, and so much you could have done. Oh, such a waste.
Do you know a film that I saw recently that is actually from a comic book there as well,
Oh,
but is so bad? Like sometimes you just kind of think, okay, how did I give this a pass when I was a kid? It's Red Sonja. right?
Oh yes. Oh.
Dude. So I haven't seen this film for must be 30 years, nearly
Wow.
25 years at least, right? And then I saw this and I was like, this is so bad. It's like it's so bad that some basically a director did this and yelled cut on so many scenes. You got to imagine, right? And thought, okay, I'm finished now. Yep, edit it,
Got it.
done. This is
Done.
amazing. This is in the can. If you want to see the worst sword fighting scenes ever in the history, Bridget Nielsen doing sword fighting scenes.
She was why I liked her
Absurd.
as a kid. It's because of her. She was like hot, but
Well,
beyond that,
well, yeah. Well, that's the thing. She obviously got it because she looked like a warrior kind of thing. But then it's like literally like the
yeah.
worst fighting you've ever seen. And like Arnie's one-liners are so
Oh
bad.
god, so
They're
bad.
so
And they
terrible,
because
man.
this came out after Conan, so they tried to kind of have him
Yeah.
as Conan, but it's not Conan. It's some other character, but they're kind of trying to fool the casual
Mm,
audience into thinking it is. And
yeah.
it was a complete mess.
Yeah, it's absolutely horrendous, man. So, one thing that I know you have been doing this week, but you haven't mentioned, but I will mention, is that we've been listening to the Sandman audio
Oh
book.
yeah, I thought you were gonna leave that as a some little segment, but yeah, I did check it out.
So, yeah, man. So we'll be talking about that a little bit later. And basically, what we're going to be doing, guys, is we're going to be splitting it into different chapters because I've never actually read a Sandman comic book. You know, I don't even have a Sandman comic book out of all of those ones that you have behind me, right? And I kind of went in this knowing a little bit about the character, knowing a little bit about the Endless because they do appear in like Dark Knight's Metal and stuff like that, but not knowing a huge amount about it, right? And then this thing was just a revelation. Absolutely loved it. So, you know, thought that was pretty damn cool, man. Did you? Let's before we go on to that, which is actually a real positive, right? Let's go on to an event that happened yesterday, actually, which was the release to air cut, event on Twitter, which basically was what they tried.
Before you're gonna get to Kanye West
We will
presidency.
get into Kanye West actually in a bit, but yeah, on our political show. So basically, like the yesterday they had this thing where they wanted to get released to air cut trending on Twitter in order to kind of do the same kind of thing that release the Snyder Cut was doing, try and get that same kind of traction for it to come out. And because of this, obviously David Ayer is kind of behind this. He wants to see his cut kind of come out, etc. And he's been releasing some some kind of like snippets of his script and stuff like that, man. So I'm the DC guy, and I suppose I'm meant to be defending this.
Dude, I
Right?
read that little script page that he put up about Joker, and it was terrible. It's such a badly written page. Like, why would you want to put that out there for the world to see? It was so bad, the dialogue, the descriptions of it.
The problem is with anything, right? Like with Kanye West, right? You get yes men with anything, and with David Ayer, okay, he's got yes men who are basically saying like, yeah, we got to release your cut. You had a proper cut. We got to check it out. Suicide Squad would have been so much more awesome if we had your original vision. Blah blah, and he's like, yeah, okay, these guys obviously behind me. Let me release my stuff. But I'm sorry, David Ayer is not this like visionary director. Didn't he do the first Fast and Furious, right? And then sorry, that's Rob. What's the name?
Yeah.
Didn't he do the Fury? He did Fury, right?
Did
Which is
Fury.
all right. Fury was
This
decent, but it's not like a visionary kind of. You watch it and think, wow, this is like this amazing visionary film. When I watched Suicide Squad, I actually didn't see any redeeming factors in this film whatsoever, right? It was kind of like, okay, every single thing that I saw in this film was just a disappointment from start to finish, right? And unlike when I saw
Harley
Justice,
Quinn. She was good.
Harley, yeah,
Margot Robbie
but
did
then even with that, it's very disjointed, and just the kind of stuff, the obviously the storyline behind it and all that kind of stuff. I didn't honestly. It was probably the most hated DC film that I've ever seen, right? And that includes Batman and Robin. I'd watch Batman and Robin over that easily, right? Just because the fact that I can't understand anybody who likes DC characters who will go and say, "Oh yeah, man, that Deadshot was awesome. That that Captain Boomerang, right?"
People that don't know the characters, I think that's got to be it. If you don't really know those characters, you're not that familiar, then I think that's the only way you can really enjoy this film.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, the thing is that, in fact, actually, no, I lied. There was one bit that I actually liked in that, and that was when Flash came and caught Captain Boomerang.
I always forget about that sequence. It's only ever until you mention it that I remember. Oh yeah, Flash popped up in this. And Batman.
And Batman. And I didn't like the Batman bit either. I thought that was just, because the whole point was basically he came there and he's there walking around with his daughter, and it's like the problem is like it's too well lit, so it's.
I was actually talking about the Joker one in the car chase bit.
The car chase bit was decent.
That was cool.
The car chase bit was decent, but then it's like, I don't know. I was expecting something more kind of crazy, right? Because he's on top of the car, he kind of stops it, it kind of, when you're looking at it, it's very disjointed, because then in the context of later on, when you've got the Harley Quinn film, right? It's just completely disjointed, because you've got Batman going hell for leather trying to catch Joker and Harley Quinn, and now you've got Harley Quinn just roaming the streets and he doesn't give a stuff about it.
Walking the streets in broad daylight.
Yeah.
Ordering breakfast at freaking diners. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and he doesn't give a stuff. So to me, it's just completely disjointed. And I have the same thing as you. When I was reading this, I read his little snippet from the script, and obviously it's just like one page. He's putting that out there to say, you don't put your worst work out there, right? You don't put your average work out there. You put your so when Zack Snyder is like, okay, this, I had a part when Green Lantern was in this, and I had a part where Wonder Woman kind of went and uncovered the fact that Darkseid was the, Yuxas was the leader of the new gods who basically came to fight the old gods on Earth, and he reveals that. Then you're kind of like, oh, wow, we missed that.
Yeah.
But David Ayer has put in this as like, guys, you missed this.
Yeah, you missed this Joker holding a gun to Waller's hanging upside down, and he says some cheesy line, which is like the most I can't remember what it was, but it's like the most cheesiest line of dialogue that it's not even original. Actually, I've even got to look at it, man. It's just so
you got to imagine that Joker as well delivering those lines. It's not like a Mark Hamill Joker like delivering those kind of, like, it is literally the Jared Leto Joker who is delivering those lines.
Yeah,
it's like every single thing in that film were just bizarre to me, like, from start to finish. It's like somebody thought, let's have a scene that looks cool, and let's just put all these scenes like together to make a film. So can you remember
okay, I'm looking at the line, the first line, Joker, one more step and you die because snitches get stitches. Why would you even want to act it in 2020? It's not 2020, it was like 2017 or whatever, but still, that is like the most played out line in itself. Even that makes me cringe. That isn't even the full line.
It's cringeworthy, yeah. It's absolutely cringeworthy, and it's kind of like, because the problem is, okay, if he's portraying a Joker that is kind of like a Joker whose all his jokes are bad, like every joke that he does is like bad, but he finds it hilarious,
like
right?
66
and
Joker.
Yeah, or like the Brian Azzarello Joker, where he says these really kind of stupid ass jokes, and because people don't get them, he kills them, right? Yeah. That kind of situation. With this, he's portrayed the Joker as I'm this cool kind of guy, like this gangster or whatever, and it's like those lines do not fit with that kind of Joker. right? And it just, honestly, it perplexes me when I see these kind of things, because I think, okay, well, fine, we've had the Joker that's been in the, you know, the 1966 Batman series. We've had the Joker in, you know, in the 89 Batman. We've had the Dark Knight version of Joker, and we've had the Joker that's been in the animated stuff, right? But it's like, okay, you've got all these other kind of ones that, you know, that you can choose from. Fine, if you want the gangster one, there's a template directly there for you, which it kind of looks like they tried to copy, because there was that scene in Suicide Squad where she's Harley Quinn's got the actual Harley Quinn outfit on with the things coming off the head, and he's in that black suit, black tux, with the slick back green hair, which is the kind of gangster Joker. So you kind of think, okay, is he going for that? But then that gangster Joker is so much cooler, whereas this guy is like absolute cheese of chopped cheese. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. And to be honest, I would not be bothered if David Ayer's cut came out or not. It would make no difference to me whatsoever. However, I am 1,000 times, you know, more excited to see Snyder's version of Justice League. Say 1,000, 100,000 times more excited to see Snyder's version of Justice League over Ayer's version of that, man.
Wondering how the production on that's going on, like the effects that need to be done. Like, how's that being dealt with in this current?
Yeah. So, did you watch his interview?
No.
Okay, so you know Grace Randolph. You heard of Grace Randolph on?
Oh, no, YouTube chick. Yeah.
So basically, people been thinking that she's got no insiders. She's just like a bullshitter, basically, right? She had an interview with Zack Snyder day before yesterday, and she asked him all these questions, and he was saying like how he's editing, how he's using the editing suite, how he's like, you know, putting everything together. He's pretty much editing like, you know, stuff from his own studio, pretty much all of that kind of stuff. And then he's looking into certain things, like certain bits that might need to be voice re-recorded, etc. And that's basically it.
He's basically taken the cut of the film that he had. He's pretty much just ditched that, and he's just doing it all from scratch again.
Pretty much. Like. It's 214 minutes, which is 3 hours 24 minutes long. And that's a long ass film.
Right? Is it being confirmed how they're going to divide that up? Like, are they going to show it as one, or is it going to be in two halves? Or
I assume that it's going to be in one, because he said it's 214 minutes in that interview, right? Which means that it's one thing. I mean, I guess the BVS Ultimate Edition was 3 hours. Yeah. So yeah, this is going to be even longer, 3 hours and 24 minutes, man, which is going to be a very long film. Bloody hell. But yeah, I mean, for the average audience, I guess if they're at home, then it's something that it's gonna go on HBO Max anyway, so it doesn't matter that much.
It's like The Irishman. That was really long, but I did watch it in the cinema, and actually it was fine to watch it in the cinema, but I could imagine that it would be easy for some people that don't like long films to watch it at home, where you can just have little breaks and so on and so forth. But what I was getting at with the Snyder Cut, the logistics of it, is more the effects. Like, people, can they still gather in an effects house? Can ILM guys get together? Or are they...
Well, that's the thing. He didn't say anything about that mission. He's talking about how he was editing it, right? Yeah. So I reckon what he's probably doing is he's editing it, all the cut there himself, getting it exactly the way that he wants it, and then after that, then they'll be like, right, we'll put in the effects and all that kind of stuff, man. Because right now, right, you know, and we said this on the previous cast, America. This is a plea from us over the pond, yeah? Guys, get your shit together, because we need to watch some films. right? You know, I was looking forward to Tenet. Tenet's gone, right? You know,
gone for 2020.
We basically got nothing that is coming, right?
The perfect analogy I heard of this. And no disrespect, US. We love you guys. We loving your films. Basically, what we're talking about is all the movie, your output that you're doing. So don't take it as a diss. But with the Kanye West thing, the way that people are reacting to watching Kanye West and his meltdown is kind of how the world feels watching how America's dealing with all of this COVID thing. That's kind of how someone put it, and it really is kind of a real accurate way to describe it.
That is the thing though, man. That's why, like, I never thought I'd get excited by you saying to me earlier, oh, by the way, New Mutants might be coming on Disney Plus, right? And it's like, this is the content that you got to be looking forward to, like on the September. So
I've got faith in New Mutants. I think it's going to be better than people are thinking it's going to be. I'm going to stick my neck out and say that. It could be terrible, but it can't be as bad as Dark Phoenix. I'm going that far.
Well, that was atrocious. That was absolutely atrocious. Do you know Dark Phoenix, right? Dark Phoenix, I had the kind of, I was kind of anticipating it to be horrendous, right? But at the cinema at the time that I was gonna go and see it, they decided to do some long ass bill, right? Where it's basically like, so sometimes they do like a double bill or triple bill of like the films and stuff like that. They were doing like this almost whole day thing where you could basically go and watch First Class, then Days of Future Past, then Apocalypse, then this basically afterwards, right? And it was like some crazy long ass mission. I was thinking,
how much was that ticket? Because it could be worth just buying just to leave halfway.
Well, the thing is, it was on like an unlimited, right? So it's literally just like you could just go for free. But even though I was kind of looking at it and thinking, oh, can I don't even think I could sit through Apocalypse, right? But Dark Phoenix, I found strangely entertaining because actually it was so crap. It was such garbage. Like the bit. Honestly, I don't actually laugh in the cinema. I don't find many things like so funny that I'll like laugh in the cinema. But this one bit where where the Phoenix, Jean Grey, is controlling Professor X and makes him walk up the stairs is so comical. I started laughing, right, because I found it's so like James McAvoy is trying to act out of his skin to like sell this thing. And the director's so idiotic, right, that he's like, yeah, don't worry, James. Because the thing is this, right, they obviously didn't have the budget to make it that he would like fly through the air, because it would have been better if it was like she's controlling him, makes him fly up a few steps, and then he tries to stop and then flies around. But no, he has to walk up the steps like he's a 1940s actor with no special effects or whatever. That I found more entertaining than Apocalypse, because Apocalypse is like a destruction of one of my favorite villains, so the things I've seen about the New Mutants is, it's weird because some of the stuff I see in it looks really kind of dark and like this horror kind of take on stuff and things like that. And then I see other stuff, like I've seen a few pictures that have been released there where it's kind of like, okay, this looks like very special effectsy, and one of the characters there that's got lightning coming out and I'm thinking, okay, what kind of thing are they going for here? And what I'm concerned with that is that they're trying to go for something dark and something like horror based and stuff like that. But then the studio looks at it and it's like, this won't really fit on our platform, so you're gonna have to put more superhero-y shit in here, and then makes them do that.
I think it's gonna be in the Dusk Till Dawn type setup, where it's one film for 2/3, where they're just in the asylum and it's just them dealing with whatever psychological issues that's going on with that. And then that last third is like their escape, and that's when all the effect stuff starts to happen, because it all just kind of goes crazy.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's pretty much the way that it is going to go. But at the end of the day, man, it's content, right? And there hasn't been any DC or Marvel content coming for a long time. So that'll be interesting. So there was something that was on Screen Rant a few days there ago, but I actually haven't seen it on anything else. So I kind of tried to look through the Marvel stuff, official Marvel stuff, Marvel.com, all these kind of things. Nothing really had it up, but obviously all the comic book stuff was showing it, and it was talking about Loki, Falcon and Winter Soldier, and WandaVision all being delayed, right? So, you know, all being delayed till 2021 in effect. So there's obviously been no confirmation from Marvel, but these guys are speculating about the delays, and it's because of the fact that they haven't been able to finish the series off. What's your kind of you know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that surprised me. I heard that because I kept hearing that Winter Soldier wasn't that far from being done at all, like a week away from being complete. So that's weird. WandaVision, how have they not finished that? Like, I thought that was done even before all this kicked off. And Loki, again, thought that was nearly done. But regardless, as much as I want to watch them now, I need that content. I miss these characters. The fact that a lot of these do kind of intersect with some of the films, I'm kind of okay with it being pushed back because the films are so far away now that, you know, it all fits in better now that once the films get going again, these shows can start building whatever stories up in between. So that creatively, I understand. But
yeah, I agree with you there, but kind of like from a different reason, and basically because of the fact that I've seen two of my, you know, decent DC shows, well, three decent DC shows, which basically they cut the series way too early. So Swamp Thing, Titans season 1, which they decided, I don't know what the hell was going through their mind, but they were like, let's cut it here and just, you know, just finish it and then have the start of the next season, which is actually meant to be the end of the season before.
That was so
and
weird.
and Doom Patrol there as well. So Doom Patrol is meant to be 12 episodes, but because of COVID, they've cut it down to 10 episodes for season 2, right? Now, that always concerns me because it's kind of like, okay, every single time they've done that, they did that with Swamp Thing because of budget issues, right? So it's a kind of a different situation. But, you know, Swamp Thing ended up in a situation where they had to try and wrap the season up and there's nowhere for it to go. So if somebody kind of likes, you know, likes Swamp Thing or has an interest in seeing it, and then the news comes out saying, oh, actually we're shutting down production, it's a shortened season, then you kind of think, do I actually want to see it? You know, do I want to like invest my time in seeing it? With Titans, it's like, okay, this season's building up to be pretty damn awesome, and then it's like you just cut it just there and then. And Doom Patrol is going to be the same kind of thing. So if these guys have got, say, you know, 6-7 episodes, I don't know how long the season is, and they're kind of like, we need a bit more time to finish the season off properly, I'd much rather they do that than take this other option, which kind of just screws the stuff up all the time. I think the same thing happened with Titans season 2. I've honestly, when this stuff will come out later, that they did exactly the same kind of thing with season 2, that they're like, we need to wrap it up. We got to kill Wonder Girl, like, you know.
It was terrible. It was so bad.
This is the thing, man. You can't build up Deathstroke and then defeat him in 2 seconds. You know what I mean? It's just like,
I know. I kill Wonder Girl with electricity. Like, what? Come on.
Oh, yeah. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. Even like Aqualad just dies just like that. Aqualad got killed just with it, you know, by a bullet. Aqualad got shot, man.
Wow.
It's just like, like how did all this happen? But it's just I totally would love them to just like expand those other shows and just continue with those other shows there and not worry about, you know, we've got to shorten it for
and if they do have to cut it, as long as it's early enough that they know that they can, because usually with a lot of these seasons there's some filler in the middle. So if they know early enough, then they can just skip that little middle filler 2 or 3 episodes and actually get it tight. But the thing is, they're finding this out like during production when they kind of really are handcuffed in how they're going to wrap these things up, which really kind of damages the shows.
And they've got no sign of when they're going to start filming again. That's the problem, man. Because anybody that's filming in Europe or whatever, they're okay. A lot of these shows are filmed in Canada, But the problem is, Canada's not letting American citizens,
Letting them out. It's
right?
crazy.
So it's like, when is this stuff gonna come up, man? It's gonna be a long kind of time before it comes. So yeah, we're waiting for some content.
Netherlands. If there's any studios in the Netherlands or those sort of countries, this is your time now, because those Hollywood studios are going to want to film somewhere, and over there they're dealing with it like better than anyone. So
Exactly.
go there.
Those are, you need to go to Scandinavian, well, apart from Sweden, which is shot, but basically like any other Scandinavian countries are doing well, man.
Yeah, they're just hanging out,
So
going to coffee shops, living life, going high school, graduation, like no problem, almost.
yeah, exactly. Well, the thing is, last few days I've noticed it seems like, well, where I am anyway, in my town, it's almost back to normal, right? I kind of like, I took the kids cycling. We went through this park and stuff, and that we usually kind of cycle through, and there's just, everybody's in the park, like the splash park is open, all the stalls are open, people are sitting apart a little bit, but that's kind of about it. My daughter's like, she's like shouting, and I was thinking, oh, she's fallen over or something like that. But the reason why she's shouting is because this coffee shop that has been closed for like 6 months is now open. She's like, this coffee shop's open, you know, because we thought it'd like gone bust or something. But yeah, that was open. You know, everything. The pub's open.
Yeah, everyone's out over here, London side, except for my particular cinema hasn't reopened yet. But yeah, restaurants, bars, like all that stuff's all back to normal, pretty much, except for distancing, obviously.
I don't even know what's even on to even see if there was any.
Nothing. They're just still old films, if they were, for the ones that have been doing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, even because my one's meant to open on the 31st, right? But it's like, what are you gonna watch after? First, it's like nothing to watch there, mate. You know what I mean? So, you know, unless like they start showing Bruce Willis films and stuff like that, which would be absolutely.
Now's the time for a comeback from like the Steven Seagals and the Van Dams, all those straight to VOD movies that they put out. Just put them into the cinema.
Just put them in the cinema and get people to see it. That would be hilarious, man, if they did that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, so in the meantime, the only real kind of proper content or whatever that we've had has been the Sandman audiobook, right? And how far have you got into it now? I've
got 2 hours left, so that's basically 4 episodes. Because this is interesting, that I've listened to a bunch of these sort of audiobooks, especially like the full cast ones, but they've never been divided into episodes for their chapters. It's always been, you know, just regular chapter, whatever, but it still plays out as one thing. But this, they kind of structured it like a TV show.
Yeah.
So actually real interesting. So yeah, I think I've got 4 left. How far did you get? Did you get past 3?
I've finished.
Oh, I slowed down because I thought you weren't going to go through the whole thing.
Well, that's the thing. So basically, like, you know, like I said at the start of the show, we'll review like the first, you know, few episodes or first few.
I don't remember what the first 3 episodes happened.
Well, that's the thing. I had to look again to kind of remind myself. So
we'll review the first half.
Yeah, we can review the first half. So it's interesting because actually, the first half of this audiobook, The Sandman, is pretty much one story.
Yes.
Right? And then after that, it becomes separate stories within the same universe.
Weird.
Yeah, which is kind of odd. But I wonder if there's a set of graphic novels, and each of these things are going through the set of graphic novels. I've got the kind of feeling that might be what they're doing. It's something that I need to kind of investigate a little bit more. For you guys who don't know, Sandman is basically the story of a guy called Morpheus, who is it's kind of like he's not a god, but he's one of these things which is something called the Endless, and they live in this kind of realm which is like in between our world and the netherworld, and he is like the god of dreams. Basically, he controls, like, you know, what we see in dreams. You know, there are creatures that like live in his like land, and they occupy the dream state there as well. and there are other people, other kind of gods that live in the endless there as well, such as despair and destiny and
Siblings.
death. Yeah, destiny, death, desire. I can't remember. There's one more, but basically, it's about his story. So, like we were saying, the first kind of half is basically about him getting trapped, right?
Loved the first half. That was like I was on this ride. I was loving this big story. I was frustrated when it ended though,
Yeah,
because it slumped for me. Now we're talking about filler episodes. I feel like after the halfway point, the other stories feel like filler episodes in a TV show.
yeah.
Like they're still interesting, but I want that big overarching story. So when it's just these little things that are happening, it's less. That's why it was easy for me to just slow down now, thinking that you hadn't finished it, because it
It's
wasn't that
going
ravenous.
into kind of so the first half, when I've been, because I drive a lot for work, I've been listening to those while I've been driving, so I'm actually concentrating quite a lot on those and like doing that kind of stuff. The final half I've been doing when I've been doing other stuff like gardening or whatever, right? Because it's kind of like, okay, if I miss a bit, does it really matter that much? One of the things that was weird about the second half is there are a lot of stories that happen in the first half that they kind of finish the storyline off, and the storyline of particular characters gets carried on and finished, right? There are other characters that they mention in the first half where it's like they've forgotten about their story and just like nothing happens with these kind of characters. Or one event happens and then that's it, and then they're never mentioned again, right?
They could
And
have
there's
easily Neil Gaiman, because he's narrating the thing, which I say he does a real good job narrating it, which isn't always the case with creators, talking their own through, doing their own narration through the audiobooks. But he did a real good job. But surely they could have really put that story as one massive audiobook story, because there's so much you could have done there with him being trapped and escaping and the cult. I love that little cult side of it and all that stuff.
that was crazy, man. That was crazy. Literally, when you're listening to the first bit, just the music and the way they're acting it, and you can really imagine they're like in a circle, like doing
with the
this kind of
spells.
thing, and like,
I was like, oh yeah, this is interesting.
Yeah, so so obviously warning spoilers, because we've been talking about spoilers there anyway. But basically what it is you have this guy called Roderick Burgess, and he's the head of like this cult. He kind of regards himself as this magician, and what happens is that there's this guy and his son dies in the First World War, right? And because he misses his son so terribly that he basically wants to give Roderick Burgess this kind of this trinket. And Roderick Burgess believes that if he has this trinket, then he can capture death, and it means nobody else is going to die after that point, right? Yeah. But in doing the ceremony with this trinket, actually they don't trap death, they trap another one of the endless, who is Dream, aka Morpheus, played by James McAvoy, right? And this is pretty
really well
much
done.
Yeah,
McAvoy, very. I want him to play it now. I can't. I'm trying to imagine who else is going to do it for the TV show, and I'm like, McAvoy did it. He nailed it.
He proper nailed him. Do you know what? Pretty much like one of my favorite kind of bits in there, and this is kind of goes a bit further on, is basically once Roderick Burgess captures Morpheus, the Sandman, what he does is that they take certain amulets and things like that he has of power. So he has a bag of sand, he has a ruby,
helmet,
and a helmet, right? And they get put in different kind of places, right? And basically, like Morpheus, he has to, James McAvoy, he has to go to these different places to kind of find them. One of them, his helmet is basically taken by the ruby is taken by this one guy who makes a deal with the Lord of the Flies, who's like this demon, and the Sandman has to go to hell in order to find it.
I see.
That interaction between James McAvoy and what's it called? Martin Sheen, not Martin Sheen. Is it,
Yeah, Lucifer,
Martin Sheen.
Yeah.
Yeah, Martin Sheen, who is playing Lucifer, right? That whole storyline, I was captivated, man, by that entire. I thought that whole thing was just flipping amazing because Lucifer is meant to be this like, you know, guy who's super cool, is like the coolest, like, you know, one in here, and Martin Sheen was awesome, and the interaction between McAvoy and Sheen was awesome. I love Taron Egerton as Constantine. They kept calling him Constantine though. Why did they do that?
But
was that a reason, or was that, I don't know what that was, but
I guess historically maybe that's an older way of pronouncing it, maybe. But Egerton really surprised the hell out of me as Constantine, really did. So when I read him on the cast thing, I was like, that'd be weird. But he got the accent down. This is what is Liverpudlian, the character, Liverpool.
Yeah,
and he got that down, and I was imagining it now, trying to think, could he like bleach his hair blonde? Would he? It's the right sort of stature, maybe.
They're gonna have to now, right? If they, because that's gonna be coming out on Netflix, right? At some point, they've already, like, you know, greenlit the Sandman show. They're gonna have to have McAvoy. McAvoy can do a, you know, he's shown that he can do physical transformations. So he can.
Can he make himself a foot taller though and skinny?
He could probably make himself skinny. Does he, you know, stand on a box, I guess, and then kind of like.
But there was the whole thing of it was the guy that played. I'm forgetting his name. The guy who was going to be Robin, who was in Batman Rises. What's his name?
Oh, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, there was a period where when they were making Sandman, thinking about doing it a few years ago, that he was up to do it, and he's got to be smaller than McAvoy. So if he was to be it, then McAvoy can do this, man. He's got that air, the respectability about him.
Yeah, I like the fact the way that they did it, so that each person had their own kind of, you know, a distinct personality, man. So you know, that you could tell, man, that bloody can you remember in Alien Covenant when they had what's that guy's name, the guy who runs everything, what is it called, what's the corporation called? Wayland, yeah. So Wayland, and he's really focused in this one thing, and when he becomes an old man, he's still like, you know, he's still this evil old man, basically, right? I love the way they did that with Roderick Burgess, man. Whereas when he was old, he was still this,
still
bitter,
speaking crap to his son, man. No respect. No respect.
It's like this bitter, like a horrible old dude, man.
He just sits like, there. Why did you talk? I didn't have to grow old.
And this is the thing, like, you know, if you're a DC fan and you're listening to stuff like this, this is the weird thing. Like, if you're like a huge fan of certain things, and Ed's could probably say the same thing about Marvel stuff, right? Suddenly you might see something, or somebody might mention something, and you're like, what? Did they just say that? Did they say this? So, you know, they're talking about the Justice League. We get John Jones turning up, you know, Arkham Asylum, you know, Dr. Destiny, you know, obviously Constantine, you know, all this kind of stuff that, you know, that they're talking about in here. Mr. Miracle, you know, Scott Free, turning up there as well. Granny Goodness, Darkseid, you know, talking about all this kind of stuff. I don't know who played Scott Free in this, but it's pretty freaking awesome because he sounded like literally like he was this traumatized kid who just learned how to escape like everything.
Didn't they have that demon as well? The one who was in the
Etrigan the demon. He was Etrigan the demon is a joker, man. just the way that everything was portrayed was like really good. Even like so I guess you've got past the kind of stage there with the Corinthian, right? And the and they're trying to find the kid and stuff like that.
Won't get into it because we'll probably speak about it next week, but I just finished the whole Vortex part. It was probably the least interesting one for me, even though the beginning part of that was insane. The serial killer convention thing, I was like, what?
That was some messed up, and some of them actually had like superpowers, and oh god,
So
it was
crazy.
like it was absolutely crazy, man. I just you know, it doesn't. The other thing with this, it doesn't pull its punches, right? It doesn't be like,
No, I don't.
okay, I'm gonna sanitize things or do whatever. And there are certain sections of this, so I can kind of see when they're doing a series that okay, there are sections that they can go to, right? But if I was, obviously I'm not head of this, but if I was the head of producing this for Netflix, my entire kind of first series, 6, 8 episodes, whatever it would be that entire first section where he's
Yes.
trapped, right? And he gets out, and then he finally gets out, and at the end of it, it's like, right, I've got to get my you know, my amulets and all that kind of stuff. Then the second series would be him going on a quest, you know, the more supernatural realm, you know, going with Constantine to get his bag of sand back, going to get his helmet back, going to get his
I don't know if the show would survive though, man. Would people want a whole season of him just trapped in a crystal ball thing?
yeah, I don't know, but it would just be like you know, I would watch it. It's specifically for me. Like I want this whole show just for me to watch and just to get entertained by. You know what I mean? Because like I said, it can't come soon enough, and also just you know, kind of just there's nothing else that is going on there, so we need to have something. You know what I mean? So yeah. Overall so far, I mean, if we'll go a bit more into the kind of second part of it there, you know, in next week's show, but yeah, the first part is definitely kind of like an attention grabber, and it's like, you know, there's I kind of find myself a few times like listening to it and then being like, okay, let me go and just check on Google who's playing this person, who's playing that person, you know, because I kind of wanted to see like you know, like who they were and stuff like that. And there's some people like, you know, people won't really recognize if they're from the US, but there are people who have been on British TV for freaking years who are like, you know, in almost every single kind of program that you can think of, and you look at their name and they're actually in, you know, in these kind of in this thing there. So
Yeah.
he's kind of like you know, kind of like Matt Reeves, who's like got all of his own mates to go into, you know, go into the Batman. They've kind of, I'm sure Neil Gaiman goes in those circles and is
Yeah.
like,
Well, then, yeah.
let's get you to kind of do this kind of thing, man. So
Does now that since you've finished it, after the whole
mhm.
vortex thing, does Kat Denning come back?
Yes.
Okay, it's good because she really hasn't done
Yeah,
much.
yeah, she's good as well, man. So yeah, she does come back and yeah, does some other kind of stuff, but you know, like that after that whole vortex thing, it's kind of like we were talking about there before with the old guard,
Mm.
right? And that weird ass zombie film that I was talking about. Basically, it's kind of like the same kind of thing where it's like Sandman is turns up in this event and Death turns up in this event, and they're in these historical events that have occurred,
Mm.
And they don't, if they weren't in there, it wouldn't matter,
Yeah,
right? It's kind of like you know, when you had Daredevil season 3, and then you had these like 2 episodes which were basically about you know, their PA, I can't remember what her name is, but basically
yeah,
their
yeah.
PA, they had like her backstory and stuff like that, and it's like, I want you to get back onto that, to
Yeah,
like
he becomes a
Daredevil
guest.
versus Kingpin.
Sandman becomes a guest star in his own story. Yeah, I was already getting that, even with the Vortex thing. Like, it kind of seems to be more about these other people, and he just kind of pops in now and again.
Yeah, just the one annoying thing about this is the fact that they don't tie everything up, or they just forget certain people. So in this, they kind of mention about a guy who portrays himself as the Sandman, right? He
Yeah,
says, "I am the Sandman," right?
yeah,
Because and he uses these kind of like, you know, weird superpowers, which is like this gas gun or whatever, right? And it's like he kind of reappears in this like dream sequence there kind of later on, but it's not really him. And it's like, where did that guy come from? he chose the name like this, which I don't know. Why did he choose that name?
Yeah.
I
Well, we
thought,
saw where he came from. They did have the intro. He was just like this vigilante that just went out and started
yeah,
to save people. And he
yeah,
must have
but
gotten
then,
killed at some point. And that when that his wife heard that he could exist within the dream realm, so it wasn't really even him. It was just
yeah,
her perception of him that she
yeah.
was
Well, that's
living
the
with.
thing. So he kind of appears in this dream thing with the kid, like
Mm.
you know, later on, where those, you know, where those two demons like inhabit that kid's dream or whatever to control that, you know, to control that dream world. But basically, it's like they kind of just left his story. I was thinking when they introduced him, because the way they introduced him, the way Neil Gaiman was talking about him, that he was going to be this major part in it.
Yeah.
The same thing as like that Daniel Bustamante guy. They were talking all about that Daniel Bustamante guy who's been in a coma and, you know, blah. And I was thinking this guy's going to be a main player. And it's like, there's no other mention of him later on. And they do obviously.
What about the guy who's like, who Def and Sandman say that, okay, we're just going to let this guy live and see. Does he come back in any significant way, or was it just for that little sequence of him just hanging out with Def? So what's the point in that then? If it didn't really,
no, yeah, it's literally just for the that bit where
like filler.
there's a yeah, basically. I mean, there's a you know, there's a bit where just Dream follows this dude around the centuries, like, you know, literally just like you know, this guy's like, I don't want to die, and you know, I'm basically like Dream follows around like all the time and kind of appears in different points in history, but it's like that's got nothing to do with the main storyline. It's just like a weird kind of aside. And what it reminds me of is when you've got a comic book run and you might have like the main storyline in a comic book run, and then it's like, okay, we've got individual little bits, and this is a thing that I need to investigate. Like, is this different graphic novels that Neil Gaiman has created that they're doing each one of those as kind of like a chapter kind of thing, and the main storyline was the initial one, you know, the main one when he's introducing Sandman and all that kind of stuff, because the Endless do appear in other stuff, you know, like I said, in Dark Knight's Metal they kind of turn up and things like that. But I don't know, maybe there might be, you know, a way now where they're going to kind of introduce them a bit more, man. It'll be interesting to see Constantine or Justice League Dark, or, you know, that kind of stuff.
Give me a Constantine audiobook. I want that.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, like, you know, when they mention certain things, it's like you're just like teasing me now. So it's like, you know, when Constantine's making a joke and he's like, you got no sense of humor, I need to introduce you to the big green guy that lives in the swamp, and you're like, yes. All right, don't tease me, man. I need that now. Like, show me that now. You know what I mean? So it's just like, yeah, it's you know, really, really good audiobook.
Definitely thumbs up. We're talking about Audible's Sandman, guys. Yeah, that's you. Said that if you don't know what we're talking about.
Yes,
Definitely worth checking out. Especially that first half, especially. Boonga. I don't know why I said that. And after that, yeah, the stories are still interesting, but they're just these smaller, shorter stories, but still worth investigating. A lot of good Easter eggs up in there.
Yeah, so next week, by the time Eds has finished the rest of it, we'll go through those next parts, because I'm pretty sure once you get to the end, you're going to be like, okay, let's talk about the middle section and the end section together, because the end section is kind of like, okay, is this especially when you listen to the last chapter and then they're just like, this was, you know, an audiobook by Audible narrated by Neil Gaiman, and you're like, is that it? Are we finished now? You know what I mean? So it's yeah, the last chapter, man, is just like, you really have to love history to be like, wow, this is something that I really want to kind of listen to. But the concept of it is interesting to me. So kind of like we're saying with the Old Guard mission, this is an interesting concept, that you have Dream who can appear to lots of people in dreams. And it would be amazing to see a series where it's like, okay, all these kind of historical events, they've been influenced by a dream that the person's had, or vision that they've had, or whatever, and the Sandman is kind of controlling, you know, all of this stuff that's occurring. and because of that, upsetting the balance of of what's going on. So he's getting too powerful and stuff like that.
I love
Could
that
be an
bit.
amazing concept.
I love that bit when he gets out of hell, when they're like, "What power do you have here?" And he's like, "Well, what power would you have over these people if they couldn't dream of escaping hell?" I love that. That was Dustin, like,
yeah. Yeah, exactly. If they've got no hope, then that's it, pretty much, man. You know what I mean? So yeah, and also they've given me the answers of how to play that game, so I know how to win that game with my kids, to say like,
yeah, that was how did he come up with that mad game? I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, so guys, they played this game where they had to one up each other. So it's like a proper kids game where it's like, okay, I'm a mouse, well, I'm a cat that eats the mouse. Okay, well, I'm the dog that scares the cat off. Well, I'm the hunter who shoots the dog, and blah, it just keeps going on and on and on. So it's literally like they have to beat each other in this kind of
Your
literary
gamer's
game.
brain is so abstract, like that character, the English guy, that's a place in dreaming, who became a person in the real world. Like, the way he thinks is so kind of crazy.
That is the same. They have that concept in Doom Patrol as well. They have this place that basically is like a sentient being, pretty much, and anyone who's kind of like a misfit or anything like that can come to this place, and this sentient being place will kind of protect them in this kind of world and stuff like that. So it's a similar kind of concept, but that one, it really did remind me, that guy that was in there, of Wintergreen, who is because they got a similar name as well, Wintergreen, who is Deathstroke's butler, basically, right? Or Deathstroke's the guy who helps Deathstroke, basically. So yeah, guys, definitely check that out. Unfortunately, this is the only week where we haven't really got that much more news, man. Have you no, exactly. So
right.
So that is it. So hopefully we will have some more news there for you next week, and some more releases. We are getting closer and closer to the Comic Cons, to the the Justice Cons, all that kind of stuff, and we're going to be seeing trailers and all that. I've been seeing loads of rumors we're going to get new Elementals trailers, etc., etc. Some footage from New Mutants appearing, etc. So we should be getting those there soon. Then obviously we can talk to you guys about that. Until then, guys, you can message us on dcvsmarvelpod@gmail.com. You can also go to the website dcvsmarvelpodcast.com, and the most active, which is the Facebook page, which is DCVS Marvel Podcast. You can also catch Ed's
on talking at the movies podcast, original versus remakes. It's supposed to just be a bonus. It's almost turned into another podcast, to be honest.
There's so many original versus remakes. That's why.
I know, it's so much. There's so many. So yeah, you can listen to those on all podcasting platforms, or on the Vulture Network channel, which, if you're watching this, you're already on. But let's go down, press subscribe, thumbs up, help us get discovered by other people, guys. Give us a rate, all that.
Yes. So guys, check us out on all those things, and we'll see you again next time.
Later.